Okay, so today's video is going to be a little different than some that we've done in that it's actually an excerpt from my video series, Worship's Missing Piece. That series is all about how our relationship with one another affects our relationship with God, how our unity impacts our worship, and it really does. And in this particular section, I'm talking about how we need to be unified in worship. And I've just to kind of give you context here, I've just talked about the glimpses of worship that we get in heaven, of the various segments that we see there in the book of Revelation, the four living creatures and the 24 elders, or all of the saints gathered there, all of the angels. And in each one of those, they're unified. They're together in what they're doing. It's an amazing picture. It really is. But I want you to also understand that this video is not so much just for you as a person or as a worship leader, as it is to help you be able to give understanding to your congregation and maybe even other leadership in the church to kind of start a dialogue about that whole idea about us being unified in worship. Take a look. Christian pollster George Barnes said it like this: "A growing obstacle to genuine worship is the rampant individualism that characterizes so much of our society." And the fact is, he's right. See, having lived with that individualistic mindset throughout the rest of the week, we have a tendency then to bring that same sort of thinking into the congregational worship setting. So no matter that everybody else is standing right now, I don't feel like standing up. Or in spite of the fact that the congregation is praying together at the moment, I need to check the messages on my phone or look at my watch to see how long all this is taking, or some other activity that distracts me from what we're doing together as a church body. Now let me be clear, I'm certainly not talking specifically to you right now, okay? But I see this all the time as I travel. The person who is leading the service might make a request, something like, if you're able, would you lift your hands right now as an act of surrender to the Lord? And then what happens? Maybe 2/3 of the people at best are going to raise their hands. Usually it's less than half. Or perhaps that person asks the congregation to kneel down, or something as basic as sing along. And the participation level is still pretty dismal. Now, keep in mind that it's certainly not that the rest of the people aren't capable of doing the things that are being asked. They just don't want to. See, some might say, I'm too tired. Or maybe somebody who say, I don't see the point. You know, somebody might be totally honest and admit, I just don't feel like it. Or one of my favorites, I don't want to make a spectacle of myself. Actually, if everybody else is doing something and you're not, you're actually going to make more of a spectacle of yourself that way. But that's another story. See, it's an individualistic mindset that's completely and totally foreign to the worshipers of heaven. Now I should probably say as we go along here that the worship of heaven is apparently intrinsically different from worship on earth. You know, it seems to me that in heaven, nobody needs to be told what to do. They just do it together with no one leading them in what to do. It appears that worship there is innately done collectively together, but that's not the case here on earth. But at the same time, you know, there's plenty of scriptural precedent for us worshiping together in a unified manner, and even for leaders giving specific guidance for the worshipers to join in together. I mean, think about it. In the book of Nehemiah, the Levites told the people, stand up and bless the Lord your God. See, the leaders were guiding them about how to respond together. The psalmist tells the people, lift up your hands, bless the Lord. That's clearly not a command for just one or two people. It's aimed at the group of people that would sing that psalm together. Or earlier in the book of Psalms, think about it. We're told, oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. Again, this is obviously meant to be a unified response from the people. Now please understand that I'm not necessarily asking you to like or be excited about what I'm saying here, but What I am suggesting is that just as we allow Scripture to inform and guide our lives in general, we also need to allow Scripture to inform and guide the way that we worship. See, if we don't do that, then we're left to our own selfishness to decide what's okay and what's not. From an honest biblical perspective, there is, and should be, I think, a corporateness to our corporate worship. When we gather as a congregation, we should act like a congregation, not just a bunch of individuals all doing their own thing. See, we can see this idea very clearly as we look at the glimpses of worship that we see in heaven in the book of Revelation. And our individualistic culture can, I think, too often cause us to miss that corporate aspect of worship. So instead of allowing that to happen, I think that we need to push back. We should attempt to reflect the unified worship that we see in heaven. Okay, so I want to encourage you to use this information to challenge your congregation to be more united in worship, to be unified as we come congregationally before the Lord, not just a bunch of individuals all doing our own thing. Like I said in the video, there should be a corporateness to corporate worship. And so I want to encourage you to use this information to help convey that concept, to cause your people to be more and more unified in worship.
Brought to you by MyWorshipLeadingCoach.com.
Helping you to be more fully equipped as a worship leader.